Yep. Tight in here. Excuse me. Mic check 1 2. Okay, everything's working now. So, gimme the keys. GTK 22. Sounds almost like the intro to like an EA Sports. GTK 22. It's in the pod. Anyways, you guys already know what it is. Give me the keys. Give me those keys. And we got them. So today's going to be a fun podcast. I'm definitely going to be doing that settling in thing I talked about. Just means it's going to be a longer episode. Basically, we're going to talk about today, what I've experienced so far today. And then we're going to we're going to look forward into the future on the reading. So it's kind of reading part 2, but I don't really like calling it a part 2. It's just reading for the future, maybe. Future reading. Could be future reading. But yeah, I'm going to go over the books I plan to read this year, talk about reading, and then talk about today. So what is happening today? Well, as you can see... Oh, and I got some stuff on the shelf today. Some surprises on the shelf. But, okay, so today, totally lost my train of thought already. Oh, as you can see, I got a beanie on. And that's, you typically wear a hat like this when it's cold. And today, in Colorado Springs, you guessed it, it was cold. It is cold. Woke up today. I mean, it just snowed all through the night. I mean, it really came down. God was really glistening some of that snow all over us last night. And so today we wake up on Saturday. It's basically the third weekend in a row where there's been a blizzard. So... I mean, the weekend rolls around and all of a sudden we get a blizzard. So it was about 14 degrees. That's 7 times 2. It was about 14 degrees this morning in Colorado Springs and lots of snow. I'll put up a picture here. This is what it looks like at my apartment. So I got the beanie on because it's so daggone cold. I mean, I'm cold kind of right now even. And so this morning was good. Went downstairs, read, tweeted, threaded. I was on Threads, Instagram's version of Twitter, X. Dude, we can't even... What are all these names? I mean, what's next? Next social media, who knows? But so I was doing all that stuff down there, and then I came upstairs... Feel a little groggy today, almost in my throat a little bit. I noticed that. And then I came upstairs and I said, well, it's so daggone cold, I might as well just get in an ice bath. Might as well do an ice bath. So loaded up an ice bath, do the faucet on the coldest setting, lean over and screw in the piece of the tub that doesn't let the drain. Screw that piece in, turn the water on ever so slightly, coming out ice cold, sickles right into the tub. And then in Colorado, because it's already so daggone cold outside, like sub 20, that water is already coming in pretty daggone cold. So, and then obviously I'm still going to go over to the fridge, whip open the freezer and get the whole crate of ice. And I throw that in the tub, and that makes a very loud sound. But, so yeah, now I let that run for 20 minutes. I started writing a new piece for Medium related to what I was being exposed to on Threads and Twitter and the other socials this morning. So I had some inspiration. I'm already fumbling over words. I don't know what it is about my throat today. I don't know if I'm getting sick or what it is, but... So, get an ice bath. Well, I take the temperature first. It was 48 degrees. And anything sub 50s pretty good. So I do basically sit on the edge of the tub butt naked, and I do 6 deep breaths. I do about a minute of breathing, and then as soon as that 6th breath ends, all right, turn around, foot in, lay down in the ice, just no hesitation, just dive right in, submerge all the way. And I do about 8 to 9 breathing cycles. And by the end of that 8th exhale, it's usually been about 2 minutes in the ice bath. And then I jump up and dry off, and I feel great. So that's how I do the ice baths. So and then I went and got this shirt. This shirt I had in the dryer. And man, the feeling of getting out of an ice bath, your skin's all red because you're so daggone cold. And then drying off, so maybe got a little glistening, a little icicle on you, and you dry off. And then you go over to the dryer, and you got a nice cotton warmed up t-shirt. You throw that on. Oh man, golly, invigorating. So yeah, that's what I've been doing this morning, this day. It's kind of a lazy day. Didn't plan on it being a lazy day, but it was a blizzard last night. I can't even probably leave my own house. Black ice and whatnot. So it's the worst kind. So anyways, that's today. I feel like that's pretty much everything I wanted to share. Oh yeah. What's up here? What's on the shelf today? Dude, okay. So today we got something a little different. Whoa. And this is a mug. And what's in it? Let me see what's in it. I don't even know. And that's an espresso. A hot espresso. I put it in the microwave before I started the podcast. It's still hot. And it's double shot of espresso from the coffee machine downstairs. On a cold day, a nice warm espresso. This is what we got on the pod today. There's still more on the shelf. Today's big day for the shelf. There's 2 more things on the shelf. But yeah, espresso. Here we go. Yep. And when I got the espresso from the coffee machine, and then I brought it upstairs, and then I poured a little bit of milk into it just to soften it a little bit, and then I heated it up in the microwave. But I think once I put milk in it, it's no longer an espresso. I think it crosses into the realm of latte or cap. I'm not sure. But because it's part espresso, part milk, it's no longer just espresso. So now it's something different, but it's a shot with some milk in it. That's what I'm drinking. Let me know down in the comments how much coffee you drink throughout the day or in a week. And then, cornerstone, water. Man, when I first started the podcast, I think I forgot water the first 3 episodes. I was really unprepared when I started podcasting. But now we got it every time. H2O. Don't forget it. And for some reason, I feel like I need to make sure I hit record on the video. Let's just... Okay. I'm very hyper conscious or aware of the technology. I want to make sure everything's working. I don't have any producers, or I'm doing this all myself. So I got to be the producer, the video guy, and the speaker too. I got to do all 3 at once. So it's a little challenging, okay? I'm trying to get better. But yeah, this water, ice cold, man. Straight out the freaking Rocky Mountain riverside. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then back on the shelf, I'm going to be literally on one after this, but there's still another thing on the shelf. There's one more drink on the shelf. What is it? Oh. All right, here we go. We got a boom. And if you can't tell, this is a watermelon Red Bull. And it's an energy drink that will vitalize your body and your mind. The red edition. I've been drinking these. I'm not a big energy drink guy, but I do one maybe once every couple weeks, maybe once a month. And this is my go-to, the Red Bull watermelon. So I'm going to have espresso rolling through my veins along with H2O from the Rocky Mountain Riverside and also watermelon Red Bull. So if I pass out on this podcast, you can blame the shelf. And I'm running on ice bath. So there's a lot going on over here. Oh my gosh, that's comedy. All right, we're 10 minutes in to the podcast. How about we get into the actual subject, huh? The reading. What am I going to be reading? What am I even going to talk about on this podcast? Here we go. Shelf. Wash it down with some water. Okay, so the first book. Let's get to the first book. So January. Well, as I'm recording this, it's already mid-February. So I want to read a book every month. And so I've already read one in January. Me and Jake, my buddy Jake. Shout out Jake. We read JP's 12 Rules for Life, the first version, the Antidote to Chaos. And we got through 8 chapters throughout January. So we didn't finish it, but we got through most of it. And me and Jake have been reading it together. He's listening to the audio versions, and then we'll Zoom every few days to talk about. It's like a small book club. By the way, I was going to start a book club, but I just gave up on that idea. No book club, dude. I don't have a whole lot of extra time or resources to dedicate to leading a book club. There wasn't even any interest around it really, beside a few people. So I just nixed that idea. No book club. Sorry, y'all. Give me the books is no longer a thing. Failed business venture. Anyways, so we read that, and then February, me and Jake are reading Where Good Ideas Come From. And that's by Steven Johnson, and I don't have the book in here. But we're currently reading that. And then most of this podcast, I just want to look forward to the rest of the books in the lineup. I have changed this reading schedule a little bit. I had an initial idea about a month or two ago. And then some books I was like, let me get more relevant to actually what I'm going to be experiencing this year, or just I kind of switched up the book schedule a little bit. And now I have a good set of books that I'm really, really excited about. It's a good mix of books that I've read, books that I've read in the past, whether it was in college like 5 years ago, or as books that are new to me that I've never ever read. It's new knowledge. So it's a good mix of those two. New books versus old books that I've enjoyed that I'm re-bringing to the forefront to gain new insights. Because you can reread a book. I mean, just because you read a book once doesn't mean you got every lasting bit of info out of it. I mean, you probably didn't. You probably only got a very small version. So when you reread it again, you're going to get something new the second time. I think it's pretty good advice to stick to books that really speak to you, that really offer something meaningful, and to reread those books over time. I think a lot of times people are like, I just want to have a high volume of different books I've read, but it's like, it's not always that's not always a good strategy, because then you're gonna miss on some books and you're not gonna get anything out of it. But the ones that really speak to you, hold those close to you and reread those. and create like a good foundation of what things you know about and what things you understand deeply. Build up a foundation. So I'm still in that phase of my life, I feel like, where I've got some really good books that are core pieces that I will continue to reread year after year. But I like the duality of being on the fringe and learning something new. So I need to take some deep breaths, because actually the espresso Red Bull combination actually kind of making me feel a little uneasy. I actually feel like I'm not even here right now. The sensation is pretty crazy. I'm probably too wired up. I'm a little too wired up all of a sudden. Just intense. I don't know why. Need to drink more water. Might have to pee. Dang. We'll be all right. We'll be all right. All right, let's get into March's read. So the first book that we're looking at into the future. So I want to reread in March of 2024. I want to reread The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And this is a book that I read in college. I actually read it over the summer, in between semesters. So I was actually home in my hometown in NKY, Northern Kentucky, from college. I think it was 2015 I think it was 2015, summer of 2015. So that's 9 years ago. Probably about time. I'm probably due for a refresher on it, right? So 4-Hour Work Week, Tim Ferriss, he's a very popular teacher, very popular, does a good podcast. He's a very popular proponent of, I'd say, self-improvement, entrepreneurship. Yeah, he's pretty good proponent. So this 4-Hour Work Week is one of his most popular books. Oh, he's in here. It's Timothy Ferriss. Sorry, Tim. Timothy wrote this book. And just to give a little, part of this is for me to get kind of reacquainted. So the 4-Hour Work Week is, it's about money. It's about work-life balance. It's about breaking out of the 9-to-5 mold. If you're unhappy with your work, he talks about how to make lateral movements into different careers. He talks about the power of automation, outsourcing task. If you're doing a bunch of work, I got so much stuff I could probably outsource in my podcast, in my music, and a lot of things. I could, in my video content creation for YouTube, I could outsource a lot of it to someone else. But so maybe I'll get some out of that now that I have more hindsight on how this could apply. So I'm excited to read this in March. 4-Hour Work Week. Timothy Ferriss. Oh, this book. I'm so glad this is the next book. In April of 2024, we're getting back to the roots. And this book has made he's a regular guest. Oh, dang it. The Power of Now. I love this book. I've probably already talked about it enough, but Eckhart Tolle, my boy Tolle, we're reading this in April. We're getting back into the now in April. And this is a book about meditation. It's a book about why the current moment is the most important thing that you're ever going to experience. And this book will really recenter you and realign you. So in April, if anyone wants to get into something a little more spiritual, I'll be reading The Power of Now. I'll be in the now. You can find me over here in the current, Where's AZ? Oh yeah, he's in the now. Wherever you are. If you're wondering, I'm in the now currently. So that's April of 2024. That's about a month and a half away. So my heart rate, I wonder if I could check the BPM on my heart. I'm going to guesstimate I got to be like 120, like a slow walk. 97. That's pretty daggone high. I should be at like 70. I should be calm right now. I'm a little amped up. A little RB'd up with the Red Bull. Double RB. Red Bull. All right. May of 2024. Going back to the archive. Read this a while back. Bang. Why don't you go and Think and Grow Rich, boy? By Napoleon Hill. And this is a little book. I like the little books. I like a book that I like to pick up that feels like a freaking brick of knowledge. I love when a book feels good. So anyways, this is a book that I read 2018. And I was the opposite of thinking and growing rich at that time. I was a broke college student, depressed, deprived of friendship, and anxious about the future. So when I read this book, it didn't resonate a whole lot with me. It's kind of a silly, but I mean, 2018, that was 6 years ago, so I'd been 21, 22. I was still pretty naive. I'm like, well, I'm depressed, so maybe if I read a book called Think and Grow Rich, I won't be, it's just silly. But I'm excited to go back to this book. I know that this is not going to be exactly a very practical read, but it's going to be more philosophical, more abstract about concepts that help you think better and can help you improve in business, you know. And rich is not necessarily monetary. You can think and grow rich in a lot of different things. I dropped it. Oops. All right. So that's for May of this year. Summertime read. That'll be an easy book. I'll be working a lot in May because I'll be traveling and working. So something a little lighter. Something a little easier to maintain. Okay. Here we go. June of 2024, we got the Millionaire Messenger by Brendan Burchard. And this book is an archive book. It's a book that I read actually pretty closely to the Think and Grow Rich. But I remember this book actually very, very much resonated with me at that time. In the midst of my anxiety and depression and being a broke college student with no friends, this book was very, very much fuel for me to kind of get my act together and get my anxiety under control, because I had a lot of social anxiety, and this book, The Millionaire Messenger, was all about the power of the word, the power of being an eloquent communicator, of being a clear communicator, of being a powerful communicator. This got me thinking. It got me thinking for sure. Because I was socially anxious. I'm like, well, I'm not a good communicator. I'm not a good messenger. I don't even have a message. I'm broken. So this was getting me to think, hey, what's going to be the long-term message? And it applied at the time to blogging. I was getting into writing online. So I was a messenger in a way. But I was more of I was writing digital notes. I wasn't really the messenger. It wasn't really my voice. It wasn't really true, authentic internal message. It's more typing. But this book's good. I'm excited because I feel like, again, similar to the Think and Grow Rich, I'm going to reread this in my current day state. And I'm going to be filtering because I'm a different person, because I have different things I'm thinking about and working on. All this information is going to be filtered through a new perspective. I'm a different person than I was 5-6 years ago. And so I'm going to get something new out of it, something new and relevant. And I'm going to pick up on stuff that I didn't pick up on the first time, which is why it's fun to sometimes reread books. So build you a foundation. You got to start somewhere, right? Ooh, this is a good one. Might have to take a little intermission. I'm going to do it. I have to pee. All right, BRB, pee. Be back in 3. Hey, Remy. Remy, you want to be on the podcast? Remy said that he wanted to be on the podcast. Maybe you're on it. I don't know, Remy. All right, BRB, son. Sweet. So we are doing it. I think the beanie was what was really throwing me off. I think it was the beanie. Whew. And then having to pee just kind of really amplified everything else. So I feel a little bit better. A little more free. All right, Red Bull. All right, let's keep this rolling. Yep. And let's keep this rolling here. Sorry for the little intermission, but very necessary to finish this episode. Okay. Everything's good. Everything's still rolling. Okay. What book are we on? So we're on, that was March, April, May, June. All right, so July. July is a summer month. And this July 2024, definitely switching it up. This is a deviation for sure. Boom. The Circle by Dave Eggers. Big Egg, Dave, Big D Egg. The Circle, this is a fiction. So I'd say 90% of the books that I'm reading are nonfiction. So fiction is more fairy tale, more story, more abstract, more made up characters, more dialogue. Nonfiction is more practical, applicable, advice-esque, written in our current world, applicable to, more factual based, more informative. So this is a switch up for sure. The Circle. Again, I'm going back to a lot of books that I read throughout college because it's cheaper. I don't have to buy new books. And also the fact that I already remember that, when I read it, then I enjoyed it. It's already been vetted through. I know I'm going to enjoy it the second time. I'm a smarter, more well-rounded, more diverse thinker. So, read this again. It was my freshman year of college. It's my spring semester. I took English in college. They make you take like an intro English class. And as I look back on my education, my higher education, English 100, 200, 300, I love those. I love the classes where I had to write, where I had to read and write. Those are my favorite classes. And that's actually how I bridged into starting to blog, because I was like, I love these classes so much. This is telling to me. So our professor at the time, never forget this guy. He was the coolest college professor I ever had. He was very nonchalant. He was very insightful, a very fearless and almost slightly dogmatic in how he spoke to us. You know, we're all young freshmen, sophomores. We all stink. We all live in dorms. We're all like partying every other day. You know, we're a bunch of scumballs basically. And this professor, he was just cool. He was probably late 30s, just that age of like, I don't care anymore, dude. I'm not young, but I'm not old. And I remember it was a night class. It was a night class in Cherry Hall at Western Kentucky. And I remember walking up to class one night. It was pretty cold out. And he was outside. The professor was outside the front of the building smoking a cigarette. And I just was like, God, this guy's cool. I'm like, what up? What up? I didn't say that. I just said hi to him. Asked him a question about probably an assignment. But I just really respected this man, this professor. He was professing some knowledge to us, and he made us read some really cool books. You know, as a professor, you're able to curate the reading content. And he's like, guys, I'm not going to make you buy some $200 textbook with a access code online that you won't even need, but you'll pay an extra $90 for. He's like, I'm not going to do that to you guys. We're just going to read like very simple paperback books that you can get at, you know, half price books for $2 or on Amazon for $10. We're going to read novels. And the theme of every novel was dystopias. And we read Orcs and Crake. We read The Watchmen. We read The Circle, which is why I'm telling you all this. And I remember The Circle was very cool. The concepts in it, it was almost a modern version of 1984. A more relevant version of 1984. Basically, I vaguely remember the main character is a female, and she joins this very large, very futuristic, very cutting-edge technology company, like a Google-esque or an Apple-esque. But it's obviously some made-up thing in the book. But it's this company, and every new employee, they start to like track you. It's a huge privilege to be able to work there, but once you're in the network, once you're in the circle, the corporation, the higher levels of the corporation kind of attach a little marionette string to your back and start kind of, you know, they have to jump up through all these hoops. They basically have to give up all their privacy. And it's very subtle and slow, and you can see, because it's written in today's like time-esque, you can see how like, oh, like to work at this company now, we're gonna basically tap into your phone because we want to monitor your productivity. So us as your employer, we now have access to basically we can see your screen at all times. We know if you're pulling up a podcast. We know if you're so like basically like that. So it's this loss of control, and the book's very enjoyable. It's very well written. So, just some little quotes here about The Circle. The Washington Post said it was chilling. It's a one word. The New York Times said it was prophetic. Vanity Fair said an elegantly told, compulsively readable parable. Papa. And then the Wall Street Journal said a vivid, roaring descent. I don't even know what that means. Good book. July. I'm excited for The Circle. What's next? We got a new book, new read, new knowledge. August of 2024. We're getting into enlightenment now. Another book that has the word now in the title. Let's go. And this is by Steven Pinker. Steven Pinker is my most recent like public intellectual that I've been following. I've talked about him before. I read The Sense of Style from him last October, I think it was. And Steven Pinker's a linguist. He's a professor. He's an author. He's a photographer. He's very well-rounded, and he's very smart, and he has a lot of good knowledge to impart. So Enlightenment Now, I can't really tell you a whole lot about it because I haven't read it. This is going to be a dense book. I mean, I can usually tell by flipping through. This is going to be a pretty intensive read. I mean, you're going to probably have to set aside, where these other books, these easier reads, I'm going to have to set aside 10 minutes for those. With this one, I'm probably going to have to set aside a good 20, 25, 30 minutes because it's very dense. A lot of information. And I believe Enlightenment Now is all about why this day and age is the best, highest quality day and age to be alive in. And that's some good information. That's good news. So I'm excited for that. It'll be a difficult read, though. A very challenging intellectual read. Oh, this is a good one. September. This will be when summer's kind of coming to an end, winding down, so to speak. We're going to get back into some more fiction with a classic. We all know this book, 1984, George Orwell. And I tried to read this. This would have been 2020. I actually remember exactly why I didn't finish it, and I'll tell you. So I got probably 70% of the way through the book. And again, I don't love fiction. I remember it was just like checking off a box, like, I just gotta get through the story, But at the time, I was friends with Asia at the time, my now fiance, future wife. Asia, I remember I was telling her I was reading it, and she was like, oh, that's cool. She's like, yeah, I read that book a long time ago. And she's like, the ending wasn't even that good. And I was like, are you kidding? Like, I just gave up instantly. I didn't even ask any questions. I'm like, cool, I'm done with this book. So thanks, Asia. But this time, I want to get through it all. I've never even finished it. I mean, it's a classic for a reason, right? So let's, I think it'd be cool to read The Circle and then to read 1984 to see the overlaps and the difference in time period. Bada bing. All right, two more books. And these last two are big books. So for October, November, December, that's 3 months. I'm going to give myself 3 months to read these two books. So if you do the math, it's a month and a half for each of these books. They're just big books. So for the first half of October and the first half of November, you can catch me reading this behemoth. Boom. Steven Pinker, again, with the rationality. What is it? What it is? Why rationality seems scarce and why rationality matters. And you can see it's a big old book. And I haven't read it, so I can't really tell you a whole lot about it. But here's what's some of the acclaim for it. Richard Dawkins said, bristles with pure crystalline intelligence, deep knowledge, and human sympathy. And that's kind of an impression of that guy. Bad impression. The Spectator said, this is the biggest story of our time. Okay, probably should read it. Economist said, exhilarating, magnificent, and uplifting. Ha ha ha. Rationality, Steven Pinker's coming at the end of the year. And finally, end on a goodie, end on a classic to me. Latter half of November and into December of 2024, I'm going back to my roots, JP. I started the year with JP, 12 Rules. I'm ending it with JP, 12 Rules. But the second edition of those rules, Beyond Order. And I read this in 2021, read it all the way through, and I felt like I was picking up on a lot more of what Jordan was getting at, the deeper meanings of what he was saying and conveying. And the first chapter, I remember specifically In early 2021, I had some major alterations to my outlook of my own identity. I had issues with XYZ, this issue with this person, this issue with this situation. And the first rule, I remember it was exactly the insight I needed. Rule 1, and this is a mouthful. It's kind of difficult to understand, but rule number 1 is do not carelessly denigrate social institutions or creative achievement. So let's break that down. Do not carelessly denigrate. Denigrate means to undermine. Denigrate means to underestimate. Do not carelessly underestimate the value of social institutions, of social circles, or the utility of creative achievement. Do not underestimate the power of sociability and creativity is essentially the rule. But it's written as do not carelessly denigrate social institutions or creative achievement. Well, that's maybe a simpler way to phrase that. And it talked about the necessity of chaos. So JP's first book is all about order, how to structure the complexity of this world, this immense complexity of this society and this world and this reality and this consciousness. Beyond Order is about the need for chaos to disrupt order. So it's a yin and yang, chaos and order. That's JP's whole thing. And Beyond Order, this first chapter talked about how you got to shake things up. There's reasons why there's order in place. There's reasons why society's set up the way it is. You have to respect that. But you also have to respect creative achievement. And creative achievement comes from disrupting the norm, being unconventional, going against the grain, challenging the authority that's in place. Creativity is all about, it's not all about this, but sometimes creativity is a middle finger to authority. Sometimes creativity is beyond the simple rational reality of the order before you. And so I love this book, and I'm rereading it at the end of 2024 to round out the year. So that's what we got, guys. That's the reading for this year. And I will, in the description, I'm going to put those books and the authors, because hey, if somebody is watching, I assume someone's watching, I would appreciate anyone that wants to read along with me. I still am open to the idea of the concept of a book club, but I'm not going to be some like managerial organizer of a book club. If you want to read these books, and we can maybe share our insights, you can DM me, or you can say, you can let me know that you're planning to read along, and readings, I've already talked about this, the last reading podcast, reading is such a beneficial and useful habit to uptake or embark on or incorporate in your life. Reading is so powerful. And today's version of reading is audiobooks. Today's version of reading is putting in an AirPod and driving somewhere and listening to audio versions. And I'm against that. I'm very vocal about it. I don't like it. Audiobooks, and maybe it's a preference. It's probably a preference. If you like audiobooks, do audiobooks. But I personally, I'm a reading and writing. I learn best that way, by reading and writing. I think that's the best way, because reading is external. It's visual. You have to read the words. It's visual. You have to internalize it. And then to write about it means that you actually have to understand it. So the duality of reading and writing is actually the best way, I think, to absorb information or integrate knowledge or apply knowledge. Applied knowledge, y'all remember that? Probably not. old idea I had, but some people are kinesthetic or kinetic learners, whatever. They learn by doing. That's fine. I think writing is doing. Some people say, oh, I'm a visual learner. I think the reading is visual. And then there's that group out there that's auditory learners, and they just want to listen to it. And that's fine. So you guys can have your audiobooks. But I like holding a book, seeing the words. Oh, I missed that sentence. I can see it again. How many times you listen to a podcast or an audiobook? Well, let me say it this way. The amount of times that I'm reading and I pause and go, oh, my mind drifted, and I did not even really interpret that like paragraph. I can go, okay, let me just reread it. I can go back and see it and reread it. The amount of times I have to do that, you're a lot less likely to do that with an audiobook. Say you're driving and your mind wanders and you drift away mentally. You're not going to be like, oh, I missed that part of the audiobook. Let me go back. You're less likely to do that. You're more likely just to be like, well, it's easier just to keep listening. Maybe it'll make sense. But no, it's like, I want to get as much out of the book as I can. And that means reading every sentence and understanding every sentence. And then seeing how the sentence is actually incorporated in the paragraph. How the paragraph's incorporated in the section of the chapter, how the chapter is incorporated in the whole book. So I'm a big proponent of reading physical books. So anyways, with that being said, Give Me the Keys 22. Bot 22. That's the episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe to the video. Let's get this subscriber up over 20. I mean, can we get 20 of you guys to subscribe? Come on now. If you've been watching more than 1 or 2 episodes, subscribe, man. Come on. So anyways, love you guys. Reading part 2. Give Me the Keys 2022. Let's go.
Give me all the keys, I'm about to unlock. Give me all the keys, I'm about to unlock. Give me all the keys, I'm about to unlock. Give me all the keys, I'm about to unlock.